They are shareholders of company 1, they are directors of company 2. Whether transactions between company 1 and company 2 are covered by domestic treaty. They are covered or not? What do you think? Director of company 2, can you say that each one of them is substantially interested in company 1? No. On individual basis, no. And therefore domestic treaty will not apply. If any one had 20% holding, domestic treaty would have applied. So you don't have to take total of all this. You have to take individually, and individually they are not substantially interested. I think we can now have question and answers. Yeah. Then yes, because common directorship is covered, but they are shareholders, they are not directors, so you will have to go by that 20%.
For 48 common directorship is covered?
According to me, yes, because if you are director of two companies, relative of one company is relative of another company, and therefore transactions between the two companies should be covered.
I think relative company will be covered because under relative definition it is only brother, sister, husband, wife, lineal ascendant, descendant. That's why. Whether company will be covered under the relative definition under the income tax.
Suppose PQR are directors of company 1 also, whether company 1 and 2 will be regarded as related party. I think if you go by 48 to, let us go once again to 48. I think it is covered. It may be covered under these 6. Any person who carries on a business or profession.
If any of the related only substantial interest, not related, then it is called B. Get the assessment.
Company firm AOB or HUL, any director of such company, partner of such firm, or member of the association, family or any relative of such director, partner or member has a substantial interest in the business. So it should not be covered. If it is 15% holding, it should not be covered. Then only it will be covered. Even if there is common directorship, not covered. I think there is one more point you will just reporting. Take an example. A payment is made to a related party and tax is not deducted at source, although it was deductible, or it is deducted but it is not paid by the due date for filing return. So under section 40A1A, this payment is fully disallowed. Now see, this payment is made to a relative. So it is covered by domestic TP also, assuming that total transactions exceed 5 crore. Now the question is, suppose in the transfer pricing report you carry out arm's length price analysis and ALP requires an adjustment. You have paid excessive amount. If the amount is fully disallowable under 40A1, are you required to make further adjustment under transfer pricing? I think auditor may report, but the SSE may disallow the expenditure fully and ignore the adjustment under TP. Probably this can be done, I don't know. But if officer is smart, he may split this expenditure and he may say that this much amount is excessive, which I will disallow under 40A2 and balance I will disallow under 40A1. I think this scenario, this is just a proposal. I do not know what will happen, because suppose you report but don't make adjustment and assessing officer splits it and says the excessive portion I will disallow under 40A2, the balance portion I will disallow under 40A1, so that next year suppose this tax is paid, only that balance portion will be allowed. Otherwise next year you will allow the entire amount if it is disallowed under 40A1. So if the officer makes that bifurcation, probably even penalty for not making adjustment yourself may be applicable. I was just thinking whether we can avoid that penalty by saying that see the transaction is reported in the report, but since the entire expenditure is disallowable, I have disallowed under 40A1. I am not required to bifurcate and disallow. I have anyway disallowed in my computation. You have only done bifurcation. So adjustment is done. It is not that I have not adjusted. The excessive portion which you are disallowing under 40A, I have already disallowed under 48(2). So one may avoid penalty and suppose it keeps attention of the officer. Probably next year when you pay TDS you can get full deduction.
In that scenario, whether the tax payment in the next year, will it be, if you make the proportionate tax payment only, on the allowable part only, and claims for deduction. TDS deduction, whatever the proportionate part only he pays, TDS.
Yeah, and then claim that. Of course, now with the amendment, even if you don't pay, suppose the payee has filed return next year, you can claim deduction without paying. But cover it under 40A1, this is just not tax planning but a manipulation which one may do. If the officer catches, he will bifurcate. But one may avoid penalty. It is still.
You have to comment on that 40B there, if it is within the limit of partnership.
40B, again, somebody raised this question. I would like to just give background. 40B was introduced in the year 91, 92 or 92, 93 when the Prime Minister was Finance Minister. Now, if you see that year's memorandum, he had mentioned from the floor of Parliament that once you pay remuneration and interest as per section 40B, the department will not invoke 48(2). But that was informal. Nothing is in writing in the section or any notification or circular. Now technically the question, suppose I pay 12% interest on capital to a partner. Can officer say that no, the bank has provided loan to the same firm at 10.5%. So I will take 10.5% as arm's length rate of interest and I will disallow 1.5%. Technically he can do if he is able to justify that no, arm's length price is 10.5%. Remuneration, again as was discussed in the first session, that if the officer is able to justify that the partner to whom you have paid remuneration as per 40B limit has not done that kind of work, and if you look at his qualification and contribution, the amount paid is excessive. Theoretically, you can invoke 48(2). Now the question is whether it should be reported in the transfer pricing report if you already have crossed 5 crores limit. I think it should be reported. It is a transaction between related parties and it should be reported because it is claimed as deduction. Then by determining arm's length price, if the auditor is satisfied that it is not excessive, he may give that kind of report. But it will be required to be reported. Advance payment against purchase probably will fall into next year when you actually record the purchase. The year in which you record the purchase, if you claim the expenditure, it will be expenditure of that year and will be required to be reported in that year.
Just one last question. Regarding your, you said that the revised guidance from institute says that the fixed assets are not to be reported. I think page 35, paragraph 8.7 says that the purchase of tangible and intangible asset should be reported. It says that these are the transactions which will get all in the scope of.
See, that is purchase of tangible and intangible property is general. But if it is capital expenditure which you don't claim under 35 or 35 AD directly, you claim depreciation, then
In that, I think I mean just like to draw your attention to 92BA, which refers to the definition of meaning of specified domestic transaction. It says any expenditure in respect of which payment has been made or is to be made to a person referred to section 4 So it's a question is only the payment of expenditure, liable or not liable, is not a question as far as 92BA is concerned. So whether it is allowable under 452 or covered under 44,
basically 48 covers what? Does it cover capital expenditure so far?
What I agree with you, principally your argument I am okay with. I mean, if you go strictly by the wording of 52A is concerned, which defines the meaning of specified domestic transaction, it says payment made to person specified under section 452
But if you look at 40, 90, okay, offline we can discuss it, but offline opinion is that it can be omitted if you are claiming the business. Offline we can in break discuss this. I think offline we can.
I have just mentioned expenditure on the reimbursement of the activity.
Yeah.
The opinion is that if the company, if a company as an entered into the friendly agreement with the B company,
Okay, you take offline and you definitely answer.
okay, thank you.
Sorry, I am interrupting. I am sorry. Okay, friends, thank you very much for the patient here.
Thank you, Neha, for a very lively presentation. Good afternoon, dignitaries of the dais and of the dais, and my dear friends. It gives me immense pleasure to extend the vote of thanks on this occasion to Mr. Neha Bhatia. Neha Bhai has been kind enough to share his knowledge and wisdom on the subject in a very simple manner. He has also given us the practical case studies to explain us the law in a very fruitful manner. So I would request all of you to carry out this vote of thanks to him. We can break for lunch now. Delegates on the right side, we have to go on the second floor for lunch. And delegates in the front can go back only. There is a lunch facility available over there. In case there are any Jain people available, Jain food is on the fourth floor only. And we will be meeting at 1:45 for the next one.
Also.